Good morning. Hi, this is Lisa Moore, and I direct the Career Development Office here at NKU Chase College of Law. And I am joined today by a number of people within the Chase community who are excited to talk to you about our pro bono program and what that means for our students and for the community at large. So I will just briefly introduce that we have Kathryn Kelly on the call, and we work together in the Career Development Office and oversee our pro bono program, which I will be talking more about in the beginning of the program to explain. And then we're joined by 6 of our students who are here today to talk to you about their experiences and gaining some pro bono experience here at Chase and working within our community to help provide legal services to many people in need. So I think we will just begin by starting our PowerPoint presentation. Thank you, Kathy. And this will kind of give us a chance to give you an overview of what the program means. A pro bono program at Chase is basically when we use the term pro bono, that means that our services are volunteering their time within our community. So they are working for organizations that provide legal services, and they are doing that for free. And that means that they do not get externship credit for it, nor do they get pay. They are doing this simply, there's a lot of side benefits, such as the great experience that they get by doing so, but doing it as a part of a sense of responsibility to our local legal community. So with our pro bono program, I mean, the idea behind it's a long history here at Chase, as our school was very much founded on and named after an individual who, throughout the course of his career, gave back significantly throughout all of his time in the legal profession. And our school was founded on that notion and has been a very big and significant part of our history here, as we've encouraged students and our alumni who graduate to become heavily involved in their efforts to provide free services to their communities. And they can do that in a number of ways through a number of organizations that you're going to hear about today. So because we are kind of founded on that notion, and throughout our long history here at Chase, our alumni have taken that obligation very seriously. We have instilled that as a requirement here for our students at Chase. So they actually, before they graduate, are required to do 50 hours of pro bono service. However, they oftentimes go way above that, and we have students who will graduate with in excess of hundreds of legal hours, of legal service, and so that's really quite a phenomenal accomplishment for them, given the very busy schedules that many of our law students have. All of our law students have. They have very difficult courses with very stringent study requirements. Many of them are working to earn an income while they're here. Some of them work part-time, some of them work full-time while they're here and attending our evening program, balancing the requirements of family. And it's very hard to come, across any extra time in their schedule. So we want to make sure that when they're doing that, it is a meaningful experience for them by not only, what the experience that they're learning their legal skills, but also a significant service that they're providing in the community. In fact, our students that are on the call today, we are actually in exam week here at Chase. So they are, we're excited that they're here to talk to you today, because they definitely also have a lot on their minds this week with preparing for exams. So thank you to all the students, and we'll introduce them here in just a few minutes. Kathy, if you can go to this, well, this is more of, a general explanation that The law-related work that our students are performing can be in a number of different types of organizations. They can be in public interest organizations, which are typically like nonprofit organizations that exist in our community. And they can also be working, in the government. They can be working with judges, with legislatures, with prosecutors' offices, and many city and county and state government offices, and federal as well. They can also be working in law firms doing pro bono work, because there are within law firms in our community, there are attorneys who are also working pro bono and giving their time for free to assist clients in need who perhaps can't afford an attorney, or taking on causes that are more advocacy kind of impact related work within the community. And sometimes they will not charge their clients, and sometimes they will charge them at a very, very low fee. So in all of these different types of environments, our students can be gaining pro bono experience. We have students who are working within legal aid societies, which are organizations that provide assistance to clients in need in what we call civil law cases, which can anything that's not criminal law related. So they could be assisting them with family law, with divorces, with any kind of landlord-tenant kind of cases, or trying to get government benefits if they've been denied, immigration type work, a wide range of needs that the local community is assisted with through a legal aid office. Public defenders' offices are going to be providing criminal defense services to those in need, and they do that for free. Once those clients meet certain criteria based on their financial situations. Again, in public interest law firms, a lot of what you would be seeing would be immigration type work, family law, and civil rights cases that those law firm attorneys would be assisting with. Our students can also, again, like I mentioned, be working in government law office, working for judges, which is a very, very fascinating experience for our students because they get to play a significant role and help the judges throughout our community in the deciding in the rendering of decisions and cases. And we have our faculty members who oversee pro bono projects for our students through some clinics here at Chase. And we have students who work in law-related education, such as street law, which is something that you're also going to hear about in just a minute. And Kathy, if you can flip to the next slide. So I just kind of mentioned some of these, but we also have, in addition to certain programs that our office kind of creates and oversees, so that we have some structured programs that are run through the school. And those programs that are run through the school are currently street law and our volunteer income tax assistance program. Those two you're going to hear about today. Judicial internships, and as I've talked about, internships with nonprofits and government agencies. We also have a new clinic that we're starting up through our pro bono program. That's a veterans discharge upgrade clinic, which basically is a long name to say that our students are going to be able to man a hotline and then do some legal work to help veterans be able to upgrade their discharge status from the military so that they are entitled to receive some very important benefits, primarily health related benefits that will improve their lives. So we're excited about that one that's beginning to take place here at Chase. And then we also have some new clinics that we're hoping to have. They're not lined up yet, but we're hoping to have created in the near future, where students will be able to work directly with clients in a divorce clinic or in a wills and trust clinic, where with the assistance of an attorney, they will actually be helping to prepare the paperwork and take those cases through the process with a client of assisting with divorce and wills and trust for clients that are in need. For instance, we've had programs at Chase. We've had our students involved in like Wills for First Responders, where they'll go out for a day and work with local attorneys and really just be able to do a high volume of wills for first responders. But we're hoping to have a more consistent program that we're going to be developing, where that won't just be like, one day occasionally, but will be a consistent, hopefully, like something that happens once a month or, a couple times a semester. Kathy, can you flip a slide? All right, so that takes us to our students who are here to talk to you a little bit about the fantastic things that they're doing in our community with some phenomenal local organizations. We also have students that go out of the area and work all throughout the country and even internationally, doing pro bono and internship work. But we were excited to have our students talking with you about some of just here locally in the Cincinnati and Northern Kentucky community, about some things that students have been able to make a difference in our community with. So Kathy, do you want to kind of just introduce some of our, well, take our students, I guess we'll just go one by one and they'll each give a little presentation to you. So Kathy, do you want to introduce?
Sure. So our first student is Max. He is a third-year student who has interned with the Campbell County District Court Judge Karen Thomas, who oversees the drug court. So Max will tell us a little bit about his experience.
Great. Thanks, everybody. Yeah, I have a car service appointment I got to get to, so I appreciate going first. Very generous. But yes, I've been externing for Judge Thomas through the drug court program of Northern Kentucky. And for those who don't know what drug court is, in a nutshell, if you fit certain requirements, such things that prohibit you from being accepted into drug court are, sexual crimes or violent crimes, but it's very, very minimal. Drug court, essentially, if you are caught with possession of drugs, you can then go through a program, and if you successfully complete that program, then your drug charges will be completely expunged or the record will be sealed. And it's really a good initiative to not have something that's going to follow you around the rest of your life. Every time you fill out a job application, you're going to have to check that box. Have you been convicted of a felony or a misdemeanor? Then you're going to have to explain. And of course, people do change, but when you're being hired for a job and you have two applications that one box is checked and the other is not, many times a person without a felony is going to get the job. So what drug court does is essentially tries to keep you in the game of life without having too many obstacles for you to deal with. Of course, like I said, if obstacles do happen in life, and that's not the end of the world, but it is a very beneficial technique. The reason that I got into drug court was first because I did my experiential learning with Judge Thomas, who's a very close friends with Professor Kinsley. And when I found out that she oversaw or ran drug court, that really interested me too, because I personally have been very interested in recovery for about 10 years now. So anybody that is interested in anything, they essentially want to explore all avenues of that passion. And I had never really experienced anything from the legal aspect of recovery. There's the science behind recovery, there's the spirituality behind recovery, but as far as legal consequences go, that was all new to me, and I really didn't have an opportunity to explore that until I came to law school. So I was very in my element. I was very interested in seeing how the process goes. People come in and there's generally 4 phases of drug court. And as you progress to each phase, you get more freedoms. You have to check in less and stuff. There's certain initiatives for you to continue your progress. And generally, hopefully, when you graduate from the program, you will continue your recovery and you'll continue to utilize the resources that drug court gives people. If you fail throughout that process, you have plenty of chances to just start over. There are repercussions, but it certainly, drug court definitely does not just throw you out and for you to have to face your original punishment. If they can see that you are putting forth the effort to trying to handle this problem. And what I was thinking, if I didn't have the personal attraction to it, what really would have, just as anybody who found themselves in my position, what really also interested me was the humanity of the legal system. A lot of times I think the legal system, including judges and lawyers and police officers, a lot of people look at it, especially adolescents, as just people trying to get you into trouble. It's the bad person. Of course, this day and age, the political climate with police officer racial profiling and abuse of power, that's completely a different situation that's extreme. But even before it got so much national attention, I think a lot of people just looked at the legal system as just a pain in the butt. If it's just a judge making you do something you don't want to do, or if a police officer is giving you a ticket. And as you grow up, you really have this kind of untrustworthiness of the legal system, and that it's really just very black and white, and you're either guilty or not guilty. And if you're guilty, you're going to do the crime. What drug court showed me was, and also when it comes to a topic such as drugs, a lot of people also have the idea that, it kind of goes to the whole sex, drugs, and rock and roll. Drugs are illegal. You shouldn't be doing them anyway. If you do get hooked, that's your own fault. And we shouldn't be spending resources on addicts and Narcan and trying to save people from overdosing because they're going to do it again anyway. I mean, I've read some real harsh comments from people speaking their mind on social media, which when they probably shouldn't, if you aren't going to say it out loud. But what drug court showed me was that here is the same legal system, and many people who have never touched a drug at all, that they at least understand that they don't understand about addiction, and that it is not just people having a good time. Sometimes it starts like that, but eventually it morphs into something very, very chemical and very problematic. And I was just very surprised that it seemed that the legal system was more modernized than I thought it was previously. Especially in a place like Kentucky. If you have places like Seattle or Philadelphia, the Kensington area, or San Francisco, their drug problems are so probably so much more in your face, that things like clean needle exchange programs and the mitigation of drug laws, those are much more easy to pass because the problem is just so out of control that they have to do something. In Kentucky, where there is still a huge drug problem and lives being ruined, you still don't have that national attention. So the fact that Kentucky does have drug court, the fact that Kentucky does have certain laws put in place for keeping in mind drug addicts, it also impressed me and pleased me as well. I'm kind of rambling, so I'll wrap up. But during my externship for Judge Thomas and working in drug court and writing papers and researching, I've talked to police chiefs and police officers who implemented laws, for example, stating that if you have two people or a crowd of people and one person is overdosing, you almost get you do get a get out of jail free pass if you call to the ambulance to save that person's life. If the police show up and you have drugs on you or you have paraphernalia or whatever it is, that's going to be completely overlooked because they'd much rather save a life than put somebody in jail. So it was just a very beneficial experience. It gave me, a lot of hope just for the drug problem that America is facing, and that's about it.
Great. Thank you, Max. That sounds like it was a great experience and wonderful to hear about all of that. So this kind of segues nicely into our next student, Jenny, who is in our fourth year in our part-time program. She participated in our legal education program called Street Law, and she will tell you about that.
Hi, good morning, everyone. I was excited to get a chance to discuss the street law program because I really enjoyed it. So what we did, I was paired with another student and to teach the street law program, which is a national program. And so they provide us all the materials and the lesson plans. And so the teenagers we were working with, we had 6 teenagers, and they were first time offenders, and they were in the diversion program in the juvenile justice system. And this was part of their requirement to participate in the street law program. So we did it on Zoom. And their ages ranged from, I think the youngest was 12 to about 16. And they were charged, their charges, varied from trespassing to, one got in a fight at school, was charged with assault. And one was charged with breaking and entering in their neighbor's house. And so we would meet with them 2 hours a week for 4 weeks. And so we covered many different topics with them. We started teaching them about the introduction into kind of the criminal justice system. I think once, once you become, you start that system, I think it's really important that they understand that they're in and what's ahead of them and what their rights and their responsibilities are. So we started first just, discussing, what it means to be arrested, their criteria that the police officers need to have, and what, reasonable suspicion is, and what probable cause is. We explained their rights. We talked about their rights when they get arrested. That it doesn't mean a conviction, and how to handle and how to cooperate and how to talk with the police at that time, not to plead their case and argue with the policeman at that point in time. And we role play different scenarios, and we talked about, how important it is and their rights not to, talk to officers until their parents get there, and their right to have a lawyer. And then we moved on. We started talking about more serious topics and life skill topics. We talked about dating and sexual assault and what consent means with each other. We spent one session talking about skills for managing anger and what triggers their anger. They gave us a lot of feedback on things that do make them angry. And so we were able to kind of work through those. And again, we had a lot of material from the National Street Law Program. And we discussed different coping skills, the way they can handle their anger. We spent a lot of time talking about cyberbullying, and they talked about their bullying experience as a bully. Some of them talked about times that they were a bully. Some of them talked about times they were a victim. And we got into very interesting discussions. And we also, we talked about child abuse and neglect and how to recognize it, and how they can help themselves and resources they may have if they feel that they're a victim of that, and how, if they have a friend, how to recognize it with a friend, how to help a friend. And we also spent a lot of time talking to them about the cost of crime on victims, what victims experience, not just physical injuries, but emotional trauma, and helping them develop empathy for victims of crime. And again, we had some real life situations we went through. We even did some cases, some court cases dealing with different situations, and they were much more interested in it than I thought. They were very fascinated by real life court cases. And then we even covered lighter topics such as traffic laws and, what traffic stops are and what to do when the police pull you over, some very practical things. And, I think what I really got from it was, I felt it was really important. And I feel we were not intimidating to them. They were students, we were students. So we didn't have any power over them. We were not law enforcement officers. And we were also not, emotionally invested in their decisions like their family members are. So I think there was a trust there. And they started to become very comfortable talking with us. And I think, asking us questions that they may have been afraid to ask a parent or a police officer because they may have gotten in trouble. So I think it gave them, an avenue to ask questions they were thinking that they weren't afraid to ask, about what could they get in trouble with, and if they did this, what could happen. And we really kind of the first meeting, they were kind of deer in headlights, and they didn't, I think we were doing all the talking, and I was fortunate that I was paired with somebody that was very adept at PowerPoint, which I was not. So we kind of combined discussions and some PowerPoints and short videos. So we kind of kept the media kind of interesting for them to switch it up a little bit. But, then they started, by the second session, they started talking and asking questions. And by the end of the 4 weeks, we felt like we all kind of, really knew each other. And, I felt like at the beginning, we all started out kind of as on equal footing, that we were both like checking the box. This was required for their diversion program. So it was required. We were doing a requirement, a pro bono requirement. But I think for all of us, it turned out to be, much more than that. We all came away with just a lot more knowledge, I think, and understanding on the issues with teenagers and how our criminal justice system is impacting the teenagers. And, I think they came away with, some real life practical advice and, I hope a whole lot of understanding on the law and how the system works, so they can better navigate their way through it when they find themselves in it. So I was saying, I still think about the kids and wonder how they're doing, and so it just turned out to be a great experience, and I was really glad he did it.
Great. Thank you so much, Jenny. Street Law is one of our oldest programs, and we were so thrilled to be able to offer it over Zoom this past year. We were worried about how that would look with the pandemic, but it really worked out well and has been a great experience. So thank you for telling us about your experience.
Thank you.
Our next student is Martina, and she's a second-year student who interned with the Cincinnati office branch of Equality, Ohio.
Hi. Yeah, my experience there was amazing, but I'll give you like a brief overview of what it is. So Equality Ohio basically serves LGBTQ plus individuals within Ohio, and it ends up expanding past that in a lot of branches, but I work specifically in the legal clinic. So it's a lot like a legal aid, but it is specifically tailored towards LGBTQ folks and people within 300% of the poverty line. So there I did a lot of different things, but that's kind of part of working with the nonprofit, I think. I think a lot of the attorneys did a lot of different things and wore a lot of different hats that you wouldn't in a small private firm. So we did everything from record suppression. That's the only criminal thing we could do because it was like government funded. And that was a little bit of what Max talked about. Like you can seal your criminal records if they meet certain requirements. We did legal name changes for transgender individuals, and then we did research for a movement called the Ohio Health and Modernization Movement, and it was actually not specifically related to legal advocacy for people, but it focused more on the criminalization laws in Ohio for HIV and AIDS status. And Ohio is actually one of the furthest behind states in that outdated laws. And so they're working directly with a lot of national organizations, and it's a pretty good, like, well-funded movement just to try to change those laws and make them more updated and in tune with what we actually know about science and medicine now. So other than that, we did everything from like Social Security benefits for clients and worked on housing issues and tenant defense issues. So basically, I got to do a little bit of everything. But Equality Ohio as a whole works with people just to educate the public on general civil rights, and they also work with community partnerships just to like advocate for fairness ordinances, which is equal protections for LGBTQ folks, which we already have some for race, gender, age, disability, things like that. So we did a lot of working with local ordinances in different counties and cities and municipalities that do not have these protections like put into their laws as we speak. So we went to like the few in-person things I got to do were meetings with city councils and just advocating for these individuals, but also for the community in general, because it basically helps your entire community when you have a diverse array of people being able to work and bring what they have to the table. And these protections are not just beneficial for people who are in the marginalized groups, it's beneficial for everybody. But what I got out of this, besides amazing legal experience, was just the opportunity to meet a lot of awesome people. And that goes anywhere from attorneys to community leaders to faith leaders, which you don't hear that conversation talked about a lot when you're talking about alliances within LGBTQ advocacy groups. And that's something that I thought was awesome about Equality Ohio. They also had a whole sector of policy advocates and people who lobbied at the state house for and against bills. So everything that we got to do there, it just touched on so many things. I mean, even if you weren't a law student, there were so many beneficial experiences just to see like how you can impact your community by volunteering as little as 50 hours. I mean, I got to touch so many things. I ended up externing there for an entire semester, but I think it's just really important to get involved with a local organization and whatever interests you, because wherever you are, there are people in need. And I know that we all like don't have a lot of extra time on our hands, but it's worth every minute that you spend on it, because you get to meet awesome people, you get to help awesome people who have experiences that are very undeserved in many situations. And even when it's from a product of their own doing, it's just really rewarding to see how people can change and how people can grow and how you can play such a small role in part of their growth, but at the end of the day, it does change how they live and what their quality of life is like. I just think that another thing that was really important there was the sense of community altogether, with coming together to help marginalized groups, which is something that is obviously a hot topic after the pandemic hit and all of the social movements have come to light. I just think it's important to see like how important it is to stand up for people that are marginalized or are having a hard time. And you can do that with obviously legal work, but just in volunteering and educating people. And that's a huge part of what they do. So that was an awesome part of my experience. Yeah.
Oh, my mute was working. Thank you so much, Martina. It sounds like it was a really great experience and great to hear about that program. Our next student is Sam. He is a second-year student who has interned with both the Ohio Justice and Policy Center and the Kentucky Department of Public Advocacy.
Yeah, thank you, and thanks for being here. I did my pro bono work at two different organizations, and I'd like to describe them both and sort of what I did and then what I got out of the sort of both experiences. So the first is the Ohio Justice and Policy Center. It's a law firm in Cincinnati. It's pretty unique. It's nonprofit. I would say it was founded to sort of remedy some of the issues with mass incarceration. And the executive, or the directing attorney rather, is actually a Chase professor named David Singleton. He runs a constitutional litigation clinic for third-year students who can actually go to court and do things a lawyer does. But he also teaches criminal law and criminal procedure here at NKU. So what OJPC does really is represent individuals who are incarcerated or have been incarcerated. And they do all kinds of things. For instance, help with expungements, as some people had already talked about, or help individuals get back to work, because it's often very hard to go get a job after you have a felony and things like that. So what I worked on was really two programs at OJPC, and the first is called Beyond Guilt, and that program it's a fairly new one within the past couple of years, but it serves individuals who have spent significant times in prison, so often like 20, 30, 40 years. They've admitted their guilt, and then they've shown significant signs of reform. So I worked on that, and then I also worked on something called Human Rights in Prison at OJPC. And that's mostly medical claims for individuals who are not getting the medical treatment that they deserve or need, actually. And just making sure that they're treated like human beings. So what I did mostly, especially for Beyond Guilt, was OJPC gets many letters explaining their situation, maybe the crime that they committed. They acknowledge that they did what they were accused of, and then they talk about how they've reformed with, programs in prison, whether it be religious or taking a leadership role or learning a new skill. And then the attorneys. So what I would do is input data into like a law firm spreadsheet, so the attorneys can review it and see if they have a good case. So, and then likewise for Human Rights in Prison, I would read their letters and see that they're really dire medical needs actually not being met, and then put it in a similar kind of spreadsheet, and then the lawyers would look at that and sort of take action from there. And actually, before coronavirus, I got to go on a prison visit with Professor Singleton in rural Ohio. It was a kind of a lower security prison, and I got to speak with clients about their case. They were one was a Beyond Guilt situation, another one was a parole situation. It was really a great experience to be able to talk to them. And going to a prison is a really unique experience, because those people, the people that are incarcerated have been there or are going to be there for a long time. So it's kind of an interesting place. So that's what I did at OJPC. At the Kentucky Department of Public Advocacy, what that is Kentucky's statewide public defender organization. So they represent indigent criminal defendants, those accused of a crime in Kentucky. And I worked in Boone County, which is a county in northern Kentucky. So what I did there was analyzed a lot of discovery evidence, that sort of thing. So the lawyers had a good idea of what their case might look like. I wrote legal memoranda with sort of legal arguments. I did research for a brief that was filed in the Kentucky Court of Appeals dealing with a bond. It was a bond issue. And even in coronavirus, I got to go to court and observe court proceedings. And I also, even during coronavirus, got to go to the county jail and interview clients about their case. They had just been arrested. So those are the two organizations I did my pro bono service at. And I think what I took out of both of them, I mean, they're both, obviously amazing for different reasons, but what I took out of both of them was that being a lawyer and the law has sort of real consequences. Often law school is a little bit theoretical sometimes. You're reading a book, or even as a practicing lawyer, sometimes you might be writing a memo and it's detached from the real story, but human lives are really involved. So, I think I got that out of it. I think it just made me more conscious and aware of criminal justice issues and just maybe more compassionate with clients, because no matter what someone's accused of or what they actually did, there's still a level of humanity that needs to be respected. And both of those experiences were great and showed me that. And I think it will make me it's made me a better law student, make me a better future lawyer, and I think it'll make me a better really person in the community. So that's what I got out of my experiences.
Great. Thank you, Sam. Another great experience. I love hearing about all of these. Our next student is Arielle, and she is also a 2L student, a second-year student, who interned with the Hamilton County Municipal Court Help Center.
Okay. So I interned with the Hamilton County Help Center. The Help Center is an office located in Hamilton County Courthouse. They provide people with education, information, and limited legal advice to access the courts. This information and assistance provides those with limited access to the justice system an opportunity to have their time in court and bring claims that they otherwise might not bring. The Help Center only assists in civil matters, which includes eviction, rent escrow, and other housing issues for both landlords and tenants, collecting judgments such as small claims, which is anything less than $6,000, and debt collection. Due to COVID, the Help Center partnered with organizations in the community such as St. Vincent de Paul and others to help with those facing evictions with rental assistance. There was paperwork that the renters could fill out at the Help Center, and we would fast track it to the organizations that offered this assistance. There was, of course, restrictions such as the landlord had to be willing to accept the rent and the tenants had to have lost their income due to COVID. At the Help Center, there are 2 licensed attorneys and a paralegal on staff. The attorneys will provide limited legal advice to pro se litigants. These are people who are representing themselves in court. The attorneys provide information for litigation, such as how to prepare for court, help with drafting legal documents, and answer any questions to the best of their ability. This service is so important because there is a misconception in the community that in order to have your day in court, you need an attorney, which can be expensive. The Help Center provides access to the courts free of charge. Majority of the litigants that came to the Help Center are members of marginalized groups, such as people of color, low income, lower education level, or even illiteracy. The work that the Help Center does is so valuable that other states had people come visit because they wanted to create a Help Center and model it after the one in Hamilton County. I was at the Help Center during the summer of 2020, so the Help Center had to change its protocol in order to comply with COVID restrictions, but I was able to go to court, eviction court, and witness that. There are about 150 to 200 people that came a week in person, even during the COVID. The Help Center also offered services over the phone to those who did not want to come to the courthouse or did not feel comfortable. In the Help Center, the attorneys were split up. So one was at the courthouse helping those who just got out of eviction court or received a judgment and didn't know what to do next. And the other attorney was stationed at the Help Center, and she helped us with our day-to-day. The law student volunteers were instrumental in allowing as many people as possible have access to the courts. So as a law student, I helped with pro se litigants fill out eviction claims, place their rent in escrow, file small claims, draft motions such as motions to dismiss, discovery, and more. I did this in person and over the phone. And I also completed research on Ohio housing laws and how the pandemic affected those current laws. This experience was the best that I could have had after my first year of law school. I got to meet with people and apply what I had learned in my classes to real life and in real time. As Sam said, in law school, you learn the law and apply it to a hypothetical situation given by the professor. But at the Help Center, I had to think quickly on my feet and apply the law to real life problems and see how it affected real people. During my time at the Help Center, my personal and professional skills grew tremendously. The Help Center allowed me to learn about areas of the law that I had no idea I would be interested in, such as housing law. I came to law school with the intent to help marginalized groups have better access to the court system, and the Help Center solidified my professional goals. I worked at the Help Center as a volunteer. I think pro bono work is one of the most important things that attorneys can do. The law touches every part of life, and attorneys have a unique set of skills that can be used to help those in their greatest hour of need. I think that Chase does a great job of stressing the importance of pro bono work while we are students, so it is ingrained in our work ethic. And when we become attorneys, pro bono will be a second nature to us.
That's great. Thank you so much, Arielle. And finally, we have Al, who is a first-year student who participated in something very important that we all just experienced, right? The Volunteer Income Tax Assistance Program.
Yes, thank you. I know when we say taxes, everybody's eyes get this little, "Ooh, thanks." But the old adage is, right? It's a sure thing. The other thing is, well, we won't talk about that. Taxes. So this is VITA, Volunteer Income Tax Assistance. And this is, these are not people in trouble. These are people that just have to do what you and I have to do, which is taxes. And I know that some people are going to say, oh my gosh, don't make me do that. It's probably got math. Oh, well, actually, there's very little math. If you can add two numbers on a calculator, okay, and you can subtract one more number from that, you're in. You're in, okay? It's that easy. So they're going to do some training for you. There's a few hours of things. They're going to train you at a higher level than you want. The good news is almost none of the taxes you do are at that level. And this is something people really need. They don't have to pay to have their taxes done. So it's that connection to the community that you've been hearing so much about. The basic way this works, and I will be very brief, it surprised me. They give you the test. I don't mean they have you take a test. They actually hand you, hey, this is what your test is going to be. Really? If only law professors could get into this mode, right? Oh my goodness. So you spend a few hours going through some problems. They actually have you do the test on a little playground in TaxSlayer. And when you get done with that, you get to ask questions, and then you go in and enter your answers in. Some of those do get a little complicated because they want you to know something. The way it works is you go in 4-hour blocks. You sign up for a 4-hour block, and you can be a person who deals with the people, and they come in, they bring their paperwork in. You are not liable for the accuracy of what they tell you. Now you're liable for, if you want to do fake things, then you're going to need a lawyer, but not good news. We don't do that, right? That's against the rules. So we're going to do the taxes with their paperwork, help them do this. And then we file it electronically. If it can be filed electronically, we do their federal and their state. And sometimes there's some situations where it needs to be filed by paper copy, in which case we'll print it up for them, give them the envelopes. This is all about reaching people who need that help. And let's face it, you would love to work with this. It's a great organization. The people really appreciate it. If you are a transactional person, you can be in the back room and just do taxes, and it's okay. If you're a people person, you can do that and talk to the clients. It's okay, whatever you need. I would like to put a plug in. This fall, we have a 1-credit course. Yes, 1 credit. And it's in the fall. It starts in October, 45 minutes of your time in the evening, and they're going to go through the whole program. It's like, yes, we win. You can do this, get certified. You can help the next tax season, and you can either do it as pro bono, or I'm told there's ways to make this experiential, which we all need some experiential credits. This looks good on your resume. Not only do you know a lot of things about law, but you know about something that is absolutely certain for all of us. So think VITA, V-I-T-A, Volunteer Income Tax Assistance. Thank you.
Thank you, Al. Lisa, you're muted.
Oh, you're welcome. I'm still mute. I'm
Wait,
done.
Okay, Lisa.
Thank you, Al. Appreciate you being here to talk with us about your experience there. Invita is definitely a program that we're excited and hope will continue to grow, and we'll have more student involvement in the future. So I want to just say that these are 6 students, and to hear them talk about what they've done is so exciting and fascinating. Of course, Kathy and I talk to the students and know, in general where they're placed and what they're doing, but to hear them talk about what it means to them is so exciting, and to know that there are 6 students out of 500, and the good that all of our students are doing in the community for attorneys that just don't have enough time in the day to handle the client load because we have so many people in need in our communities. So, and I think Al made a good point, which is that, we have students who come in, and some of our students come in and they know that this public service and kind of a nonprofit and client advocacy kind of work is really what they're here for and what they really want to do. But we also have a number of students whose long-term career interests are very different, and they can range, from things that are more, business law and real estate and tax law and intellectual property and things that are very different than courtroom and litigation type work. And what we find when we get the evaluations back from students and when we talk to them is a lot of what you heard today. No matter what their longer term career goals are, this is something that that they take away from their experience at Chase that is one of the most meaningful, because they have learned truly about what pro bono service and how they can incorporate this into their future, and what they can take away from that is that they want to continue it in the future because it has been meaningful. They remember the people they meet, they remember the stories, they remember that it felt very good to help those in need, and a couple of years from now when they're all out in their practice and very, very, very busy in their practice, that they're going to find ways, and make time to continue to give back to the community. So it's very exciting. Kathy and I love this part of our job, and we love hearing the students talk about what it means to them. So we thank you all for being with us here today. And if I feel, Kathy, is there anything that you wanted to add before we end the program?
No, I think it was fantastic to hear from the students, and as you said, it's always great to hear that they had such a great experience.
Absolutely. Thank you, everyone, for joining in to learn more about our program. We appreciate it, and have a good day.